For centuries, bells were one of the ways that churches spoke to the communities in which they were situated. And probably no one expressed that notion better than Henry Wadsworth Longfellow in his poem, I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. In the poem, he said that the sound of church bells tolling out Christmas carols caused him to think of their words about peace on earth and goodwill. In fact, he recalled how that theme had long been the unbroken song from the belfries of Christendom. But then he looked around the world and he saw that there was no peace. And he had a moment of despair. And he wrote, "Hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth and goodwill to men." But the bells kept ringing. And Longfellow had fresh heart, and so the final stanza of his poem is then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. Well, that unbroken song from the belfries of Christendom seems once again to be broken as we gather for this Christmas, aware of a world that's racked with conflict and darkness and violence and suffering and division. Trish Warren, writing about this Christmas of 2019 in the New York Times, writes about our cosmic ache. She writes that we have a deep, wordless desire for things to be made right, and the incompleteness that we feel because they are not right yet. At the beginning of Advent, we were told by stories in our local newspapers that fewer and fewer people are listening to these church bells, that more millennials are moving away from community-based religion to convenient, low-commitment substitutes for faith, that they're going on their own way, rejecting faith communities that foster relationships and enable people to reach out and serve one another while together searching for this elusive God. This is unfortunate. It's unfortunate because the ringing of those church bells through history have brought people together, providing hope and support as we struggle together to deal with the darkness around us. So it's in the midst of this incompleteness that we feel, in the midst of this cosmic ache, that what we celebrate this day is that God's own self came to earth in human flesh. That the child of two simple villagers ended up changing history more than anything before or anything since. Dennis Butcher, in a column on the Christmas season, states that what we're celebrating is the possibility in the midst of the impossible. Now, it's not the kind of possibility that comes from a confidence in our own skill or knowledge or ability. No, it's the possibility that comes solely from the fact that our God is the kind of God who comes into our human existence to reveal to each one of us that each one of us is made in the image of God, and we are all siblings. We are not strangers to one another. We are all connected to each other, no matter what race, color, gender, creed. We are not strangers. And the possibility of that birth 2,000 years ago was so surprising then, and it continues to be so surprising today, and we're still caught unaware, and we are left simply wondering and in awe at the simplicity of how God broke into our history. But now as we look around our world, it certainly might seem to most of us that it's almost impossible to heal this cosmic ache. Yet the message of Christmas is that with God's grace, it is possible to break through the darkness and bring light and healing into the chaos around us. We are called by these bells not to despair, but together as the community of Christians and believers, to all of us, each one of us, be involved in the process of healing. Just look at history. It has been done. It continues to be done by people of deep faith and trust, by communities coming together, communities of believers. And you know where this was seen recently? In the movie Harriet. The movie opens with a scene of an outdoor black church service held under the watchful eyes of slaveholders. And this movie ends echoing the words of Jesus Christ. You see, for Harriet Tubman, it was faith and community. It was faith and community, faith in this God-man Jesus who guided her, preserved her, protected her, soothed her. It was her source of strength and mystery, defined her. But it was a faith not just all on her own, it was a faith based in a community of people who believed. She was one of the greatest freedom fighters of all time. She was 5 feet tall. She was illiterate in reading and writing. She had a disability. She escaped slavery in 1849 and at great risk entered slave-holding states to extract slaves and lead them to freedom. She freed thousands of slaves. She exemplifies possibility in the midst of the impossible. And Christmas sends us a very strong message that healing our world is possible. Healing our world, our nation, and our church. That communities of believers are struggling to heal this cosmic ache right in our own community. Well, we only need to look at Catholic Charities or the Samaritan Center. 2,000 years ago, Jesus was born into a world that was not only plagued by darkness and sin, it was also plagued by systemic oppression. His people, the Hebrews, were subjugated people. They lived in exile in their own land, and he freed them. And this is the example that gave Harriet Tubman the courage to do the impossible. Why Jesus' message even encouraged a Hindu, Mahatma Gandhi, to live out the Sermon on the Mount. Christmas tells us Jesus was sent by a God who wants to renew creation so that the blind see, the lame walk, the hungry are fed, the dead are resurrected. And as we look around our world, we realize with Henry Wordsworth Longfellow, hate is strong, and it mocks the song of peace on earth and goodwill to men. But the bells keep ringing. We must take fresh heart as Longfellow did, not to despair, but to live by the Christian message that in the midst of this incompleteness that we feel, that it is possible to heal this cosmic ache. In the world, in the nation, and even in our church. So let us this Christmas day continue to hear those bells ring, because God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth and goodwill to all people everywhere.